forces crushed dozens of terrorists belonging to al-Qaeda organization in several areas. At Tahrir Square in Cairo witnesses a new massive demonstration that calls for delivering Egypt from the grip of absolute power. Two terrorist explosions in Kirkuk kill and wound dozens of Iraqis. Good afternoon, this is Ziyara Krikorian with the news in English. A suicidal terrorist blast in a booby-trapped car carrying the stamp of al-Qaeda organization has killed 2 citizens and injured 4 in Judaydat Artouz in Damascus suburbs. The explosion also left material damage on the site. An armed unit has eliminated a number of terrorists belonging to al-Qaeda organization. They had committed acts of killing and vandalism at the entrance of Zamelka in Damascus suburbs. Among the killed terrorists, Ahmed Khalil Idris, Bashir Kharban and Muhammad Noor Aboud, nicknamed Abu Khadouj, were identified. Our armed forces have continued to clear the resort city of the armed terrorist groups that wreaked havoc and spread panic among citizens in the governorate. An army unit intercepted an armed terrorist group belonging to al-Qaeda organization. The group had stolen and smuggled oil to Turkey through tanks in Abu Khashab district in the resort suburbs. An official source in the governorate said a number of terrorists were killed and others wounded. Among the killed was the leader of the group, Saddam Awad al-Sahu, nicknamed the Bird. Another unit targeted a terrorist group in Al-Jubayla neighborhood in Deir ez-Zor, killing and wounding its members. Among the killed terrorists, Muhammad Jasim Ibrahim and Saed Samer al-Ghatban were identified. The source added that a leader of a terrorist group called Ali Amin Khudr al-Hussein was wounded in the clashes and was moved to Turkey for treatment. In Idlib countryside, a unit of our Syrian Arab army raided a hideout of a terrorist group called al-Nusra Front, which is affiliated to al-Qaeda, killing a number of the terrorists in the town of Mhambil in Jisr al-Shughur. Among the terrorists killed was the leader of the group, Abdul Majid Khudr. In Ma'arat al-Nu'man, a unit of our Syrian Arab army clashed with a terrorist group that tried to attack a police checkpoint. The clashes resulted in the killing of a number of terrorists and the injury of others, while a variety of their weapons, including modern communication devices, were seized. Another unit of our army destroyed a terrorist hideout and a store of weapons and ammunition in Atme, near Harim. Meanwhile, 15 terrorists were killed in a roadside bomb that exploded while they were planting it on the road between Darkush and Zarzur in Idlib countryside. An army unit has destroyed a training camp that was used by terrorist groups as a headquarters for their criminal operations in Kafar Takharim town in Idlib suburbs. A number of terrorists were killed and others were wounded in the operation. Another army unit eliminated a number of terrorists and injured others in Jubar Paklavun village in Idlib suburbs. In another context, the engineering unit today dismantled 4 explosive devices planted by terrorists in Ariha Mhambil road near Psanqaloum village, each weighing 100 kilograms and prepared to be remotely exploded. In Hama, our Syrian Arab army carried out 2 operations, killing a number of al-Qaeda terrorists in the village of Asayle to the south of the city. The operations also resulted in the destruction of 10 of the terrorist vehicles, including 3 pickups equipped with doshka, which the terrorists used in attacking the villagers and their properties. The party's Affairs Committee, headed by Major General Muhammad al-Sha'ar, the Minister of Interior, has discussed with the Human Development Committee at the Council of Ministers the amendments proposed to be introduced into the party's Law 100 of 2011. Major General al-Sha'ar referred to the turning point the political life in Syria has witnessed after the issuance of the party's law, which resulted in setting up 11 new parties in addition to the parties of the National Progressive Front. Major General al-Sha'ar talked about the reason behind preparing the party's draft law amendment, namely to be in conformity with the new constitution, particularly Article 8, and to address some of the shortcomings that appear during the phase of practical application, and to offer other facilities for the process of party's establishment. After discussing the provisions of the party's draft law amendment, a joint formula was reached that included most of the proposed amendments. A recommendation was referred in this respect to concerned parties. Opponents of President Mohamed Morsi rallied in Cairo's Tahrir Square for the fifth day, stepping up calls to cancel the constitutional announcement which was approved by the President last Thursday, and demanding to dissolve the Committee of the Constitution. Many leftist, liberal and socialist groups erected the platform for the protest in Tahrir Square, chanting against Muslim Brotherhood and the Interior Ministry. The Judges Club and the Supreme Judicial Council said that giving immunity to the President's decisions concerning the interior affairs, the law and the Constitution can't be considered as an act of sovereignty. In the contrary, this decree ushers to an era of autocracy. At the conclusion of a meeting between the President and a delegation of the Judicial Council yesterday, spokesman for the Presidency announced that there won't be amendments to the Constitutional Declaration, which triggered a wave of anger and protests. A new Israeli breach of the ceasefire took place in Gaza today when Israeli artillery killed a Palestinian woman in al-Shujaiya neighborhood east of Gaza and injured two other Palestinians near Karm Abu Salem, crossing east of Rafah, south of Gaza. Furthermore, the number of victims of the Israeli aggression has risen to more than 175 martyrs and the injured to 1,398, mostly women and children. 3 people were killed and more than 20 others were injured in 2 terrorist explosions in Kirkuk, north of Iraq. The explosions were caused by 2 booby-trapped cars and an attack with explosive devices. The first blast targeted the headquarters of the Kurdistani Democratic Party in Al-Shurja, east of Kirkuk. It killed 2 people and injured 18 others. The second car blew up northeast of the city. 2 explosive devices exploded when a police and army patrol was passing by in Al-Hawija district. 3 army and police personnel were killed. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more information about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Vani Genjian after a short break.
Good afternoon. The Speaker of the Parliament, Mohammed Jihad al-Laham, stressed the importance of concerting efforts between all public and private establishments and motivating potentials of individuals in order to overcome the current crisis that obstructs Syria's development by restoring the stability, rebuilding the damaged areas and returning the displaced people to their homes. The government and all the stakeholders are currently working on realizing this. During the opening of the workshop Population and Development in the Current Situation in Al-Sham Hotel, Al-Laham pointed to the population and development surveys that have been prepared by Syria and supported by the United Nations Population Fund, which show that before the crisis, Syria was on the way to realize most of the MDGs and the International Conference for Population and Development's goals, which have been adopted in Cairo Conference, which was held in 1994. Al-Laham also highlighted highlighted that the current crisis has influenced the economic and social situation, and all sectors were negatively influenced by the damage of the infrastructure, human resources, and development constituents, emphasizing the importance of creating ideas and exerting all efforts in order to overcome these effects. In a meeting that will be held tomorrow, the Ministry of Agriculture will discuss the situation of the olive crops and the olive oil and the suggested mechanisms for manufacturing and marketing olive oil. The draft will be displayed to establish a union of producers and manufacturers of olive and olive oil to be submitted to the cabinet. The task of the union is organizing the production, marketing and manufacturing of the product in cooperation with different sides in order to develop it. Brent crude stayed above $111 per barrel, as optimism coursed through financial markets after Greece's international lenders reached a deal on a new debt target, although worries about a looming U.S. fiscal crisis kept a lid on gains. U.S. stock index futures pointed to a higher open on Wall Street, while the European stocks rose, recovering from weakness in the previous session after international lenders agreed to reduce Greece's debt, paving the way for the next disbursement of aid. Traded in a tight range around $1,750 an ounce, as traders moved to the sidelines after initially pushing up bullion by almost $3 following the deal among Greece's international lenders to cut the country's long-term debts. The euro bounced to a one-month high against the dollar after international lenders agreed a new debt target for Greece, but eased back after federal policymakers' comments boosted the U.S. currency. And with this we conclude our news. Thank you for watching and goodbye.